It's Monday morning. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. At the Academy Awards last night, for the first time in history, a streaming platform took home the Oscar for Best Picture. Much to Netflix's chagrin, it was not them, instead it was Apple with Coda. In other Academy Award firsts, the electric vehicle company Lucid had a commercial during broadcast. This was the first electric vehicle company to do so at the Oscars. HP is doubling down on the hybrid work model by spending $1.7 billion to acquire the audio and video device maker Poly. Fertilizer prices have jumped over 40% on reduced supply, and Joe Biden is proposing a billionaire minimum income tax that will tax households making over $100 million at least 20%. I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Monday night. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. U.S. stock futures are currently flat. This is because investors are keeping a keen eye on tomorrow's release of consumer confidence data. Tesla has requested stockholder approval for a stock split. The stock jumped over 8% on the news. Walmart announced that they will be ending the sale of tobacco in over 5,000 stores in the United States. AIG filed for an IPO for its retirement business, which will be rebranded as Corebridge. Speaking of IPOs, Instacart's CEO said that Instacart is in no rush to IPO. And Barclays is down over 10%. This is because they are taking a hit of $591 million over the issuance of notes for sale. See you tomorrow morning. It's Tuesday morning. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. U.S. stock markets are up this morning. This is on the news of peace talks and the conflict abroad. As a result of these talks, oil prices are down. FedEx founder and CEO Fred Smith will be stepping down on June 1st. Sony announced that they will be revamping the PlayStation Plus service in order to better compete with Microsoft's Game Pass. Mortgage rates are up to nearly 5%, and home insurance premiums have increased anywhere from 3% to 30% depending on where you live. And, just like a few weeks ago, Nielsen is up over 20% on news of an acquisition deal for $16 billion. Let's see if this one sticks. Tell your finance friends about me, and I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Tuesday night. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. Robinhood, the stock trading app, was up over 20% today. This was on the news that they are extending trading hours for their users by 6.5 hours. Chewy, the pet company, ended the day down nearly 10%. This was on the news of rising costs as well as slowing growth. Lululemon, on the other hand, ended the day up over 11%. This was because they hit $6 billion in annual sales for the first time and have forecast even more growth. And if you needed a reminder to do your taxes, the FTC is suing TurboTax, claiming that their most recent marketing campaign was misleading customers into believing the service was free. I'll see you tomorrow morning. It's Wednesday morning. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. According to Bloomberg, Tesla has signed an undisclosed deal with the Brazilian mining company Vale for a supply of nickel. Nickel is essential to making electric vehicle batteries. According to the ADP employment report this morning, the United States private sector added 455,000 jobs in March. This was higher than expected. Apollo announced that they will no longer seek to buy out Pearson after being rejected for a third time. Sir, this is a Wendy's is now something you might hear in the metaverse. Wendy's has teamed up with Facebook's parent company Meta to create the Wendyverse. And avocado prices have jumped to a 24-year high because of supply. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Thursday morning. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. Oil prices have taken an absolute dive this morning. This is on the news that the U.S. government is considering releasing federal reserves of oil. Waymo is now offering free driverless rides in San Francisco. This is to go after their competition, Cruise. According to a new report, U.S. adjusted inflation spending fell in February. This was after a 2.1% jump in January. A new post from the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas indicates that a group of researchers and economists are seeing signs of a housing bubble, and the SEC has proposed new regulation and disclosure requirements for SPACs. I'll see you at the end of the day. It's Thursday night. I read finance news so you don't have to. Here's some finance news you might want to know. GameStop is giving even more power to the players today. They announced a stock split which caused their stock to jump over 17% in after-hours trading. And while GameStop was up, the rest of the market was down today. This was on the news that President Biden is prepared to release 1 million barrels of oil per day to help ease energy costs. Etsy is down 7% today as well. This is because sellers will go on strike tomorrow, April 1st, over a fee structure, and they are also encouraging buyers to boycott the company as well. Mortgage rates continue to increase faster than expected, and Ford had to halt production of the Mustang in Michigan due to the continued chip shortage. I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. Good morning! I'm Vince. Here's some finance news you might want to know. U.S. stock markets have opened relatively flat today as investors look at the March job report. U.S. joblessness dropped to 3.6%. Now, this generally would have a positive impact on the markets. However, this does lend support for the Federal Reserve to be even more aggressive for their May interest rate hike, which is why we are relatively flat. BlackBerry is currently down over 10% this morning. This was because last night they forecast that their cybersecurity revenue would be flat for the next year. You can now add Apple to the long list of companies that also want to be a bank. According to Bloomberg, they are working on a secret project called Breakout, which looks to replace a lot of their financial service partners. Have a great April Fools. Take everything on the internet with a grain of salt today, and I'll see you at the end of the day. Happy Friday! Here's some finance news you might want to know. U.S. stock markets ended the week in the green, and oil ended at $99 a barrel. Doubling down on entertainment, Apple has just signed a $100 million deal with Scarlett Johansson. Speaking of streaming, with the most recent delay of the Obi-Wan series by Disney+, we now have an epic weekend, May 27th, when Obi-Wan will go head-to-head with the new season of Stranger Things. Which one will you be watching? Microsoft is coming under the scrutiny of EU antitrust regulators. They've been previously fined in the last decade $1.8 billion for breaches. And Amazon workers on Staten Island successfully voted to become the first unionized warehouse. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you Monday morning.